A new day, morning. Here the master is engaged in a truck. There was a problem with the cooling system. In addition, it turns out, as I understand it, there was a problem with the head because they bought a new head, installed it. And, by the way, they do repairs with such motors. They make repairs on such motors because it is advisable, and, in general, the car is expensive, and therefore it is advisable. But that's not what's interesting. But it's interesting. I'll show you now. Heavy-duty truck. Pump. Plastic. Plastic is simple. The impeller is plastic, but which naturally fell off. Class. Dodge. I don't know what kind of Dodge, but the car is very old. According to this machine, you will need to find a leak of the power steering fluid. The car is very old. It is diesel, the engine. Now I'll try to show it in the salon. That's it. And this is an automatic, a diesel car, an automatic, everything is supposed to be. Ah, the joke. To open the hood, we start looking here, but there is nothing here. There's just nothing here. The hood opens right from here, that is like this. And that's it. Then it's still simple. The car is old, then they just didn't know. What? Something can be stolen. Here is the engine itself. It turns out 6 cylinders of 24-valve diesel, 24 valves, 4 valves per cylinder. In general, oil is everywhere. It is very difficult to determine where it flows from. Everything will need to be washed. The car should run, and then maybe something will be decided. But most likely, it is a line that is without pressure, along which the power steering fluid goes back into the tank. Well, most likely, I do not know. I let it run a little. The whole box was immediately in smoke. The sound, of course, is cool with the car, but there are a lot of exhaust gases coming from it. In America, they say it's the smell of freedom. That's what I was told. The next car is a Ford F-250. I'm going to change the oil here. Look at the air filter. Check the cabin filter. Well, that is such a small service. I'll tell you a little bit about how we check this car. In particular, we look. Just a second now. We look. So, the brake fluid level is not. We need to see what happens to the brake pads. Coolant level. Empty. Well, it's there, I've already checked, but not the level. The second system is the second cooling system. We look too. It is not at the level of the level we will raise. The air filter is checked easily. Here we get such a special valve. It went into the red zone, so the filter is replaced. But the filter here turns out that they have already changed this filter. That is, another filter is coming from the factory. They replaced it with some kind of I don't know, improved. Here. And after replacing the filter, if you change the filter, then this valve is simply reset. The button is pressed here, and it is reset to the green zone. and thus shows in what state the filter is. So it is. Come on, let's go look at the pads. And here are the pads, and how would you show it like that? There is a pad here, well, there is practically none. There are literally 2 or 3. Just a second now. Yes, 2 or 3 millimeters. If you remember, I was expecting a new bolt for this car. The new bolt is already there. That's how it turns out that she passes the inspection. That is, they look, if it's an eye, they try it. The nut is tightened, not tightened. Well, they look at the nut in general. Now I'm going to tighten it up. Everything seems to be fine. This is what it looks like. Here it turns out. This is an old nut with an ear, and here is a new old nut. A new eye, a new bolt. That's it. We install the wheel. And with this machine, the 5-minute job is over. Another interesting thing they get is that the bridge is being blocked. That is, clockwise it is blocked, counterclockwise it is auto. Auto control is carried out with the help of a vacuum. Here is this vacuum hose, already from the salon. You can control whether to do blocking or not. Such an interesting system. We will also disassemble such machines. Quite often, brake discs, bearings, and so on are changed on them again. It's all being filmed there. Sometimes it is removed, sometimes it is not removed. Well, in general, I'll show you. I also wanted to show that if a nut goes on a wheel with such a washer, it kind of rotates. Then we also add oil here. That is, literally 1 drop between the washer and the nut. Oil drips everywhere, and then drags on. I tighten it just a little bit, in order to hold out with a torque wrench in the future. Now I'm going to look at the program with what effort and tightened. That's it, the wheel is clamped. I clamped it with a dynamite wrench, with this one. In the program, I found a reading of 165-pound halibut, or 224 Newton meters. We are starting from these indicators. So I tightened all the nuts with this tension. Now you can lower the car to the end. Here's getting a lift. What else did I want to say? We always work with machines when the machine is put on such a jack stand. That is, for safety, it is better to always put the car, lift it with a jack, that is, with a lift, and always put it on this stand, so that the car, God forbid, does not fall. In other words, you can't trust hydraulics. The same applies to the lift. On the lift, we lift the car, it descends on the locks and work only when the car is locked. Somehow, too, I'll probably show you in the future. Well, we are doing this Ford, well, a Ford that needs to change the oil, replace the filter. And this is the cork from the oil pan. That's it, they began to make plastic. Well, this. Well, I do not know, there are just no words. Plastic pallet, plastic stopper. Of course, the hole is decent for draining the oil, it pours out so quickly on the floor. In general, I don't know, there are no words. In general, a small correction on this traffic jam. It turns out, well, at least there is such an assumption that this plastic pallet and this cork is not the original Ford, but it's like an auto market. That is, someone bought a new pallet, put it on. I don't know why to do this here. In other words, they say that only metal pallets, only metal stoppers are used on these machines. I have already installed a new feeder, replaced it. It remains to tighten the plug, pour oil, raise all levels, I mean add coolant, brake fluid. It will also be necessary to get an answer from the client about whether he will solve problems with the brakes at the back. And the cork. They are twisted by hand. Lepota. Simple. Okay, now we'll clean it all up and that's it. Let's wrap it up. 12 liters of oil goes here. I will carry 12 liters. In general, I started adding coolant, added it, raised the level, but the question arose, where did so much coolant go? We look. Water pump. Well, everything is clear. In general, he will talk to the client, say that he needs a replacement of the water pump and rear brakes. Let's see if we are going to do this repair or not. Let's see. Here, by the way, is how trucks are brought that have broken down, with tow trucks like this. It's cool, so many tons. A truck brought a truck. In general, for this car, the owner decided not to change the brake discs, not to solve problems with coolant leakage. The car will go into battle. And then they come with an engine replacement. A new job, again Ford 350th Super Duty XL. Well, in principle, this is the case. It doesn't matter, because I'm going to change the battery on this car. It doesn't take charge. It was checked under load, showed that you need to change the battery. The battery is already new, and I will change the fan of the heating stove. The fan didn't work, I just removed the contacts. Here is such a fan. I removed the contacts from the fan. There are only 2 contacts. Here they are. And I looked if there was tension on it. There was no tension. Or rather, there was a voltage. The fan did not rotate. Well, it is said naturally that the fan is being replaced. He comes with this tube. The fan itself is installed. The fan itself is installed. It's installed down here, and I think there won't be any problems replacing it, because, well, here it is. It just needs to be. Here it is. Now, can't you see it? Yes, here it is. Here it is. It will just need to be disconnected and connected. In principle, a simple job. Well, before removing the old battery, I saw that there are oxides on the contacts, and we used to such things. This is listed as a cleaner. It cleanses. There it turns out a chemical reaction is going on, and it cleans all the metal and the protector, that is, it is for protection. Here it turns out that we are spitting. One hand is not very convenient. We give it 15 minutes, 15 to 10 minutes to stand, then it is wiped off with a dry cloth. Then you can wash off the brake cleaner, it's all the matter, and when I install a new battery. I will additionally do pollination with this kind of protector, well, as if I will apply protection.
И когда я установлю уже новый аккумулятор, я еще дополнительно сделаю опыление вот таким вот protection. Ну, как бы защиту нанесу.
And so it turns out that he enters into such a reaction. Reacts with oxidation, and then like this to show her.
И потом вот так, чтобы показать ей.
Well, when oxidized, it turns into such a color, as if it were so red.
Такой вот цвет, как бы такой красненький.
Well, in general, somehow it cleanses it.
Его очищает.
Well, the new battery is still in place.
Новый аккумулятор стоит
I
на
additionally
месте.
cleaned the contacts exactly in the place where the terminal sits,
Контакты
with such a brush and drill.
именно в месте там, где садится клемма, вот таким вот ёршиком и дрелькой.
It's all standing, everything is clamped, everything is already clean.
Уже чистая.
What a view!
Вид
The view is more or less specific.
приятный.
And now we apply
Наносим
protection.
защиту.
It is covered with such a red layer.
Таким вот красным слоем.
And that's it, the battery replacement is over.
Все, на этом замена аккумулятора закончена.
We proceed to the motor.
К моторчику.
Well, it turns out, having a new motor, you can determine how to remove the old one. By the way, this often helps. If you don't know how some part is attached, it's better to look at a new one.
Деталь крепится, лучше посмотреть на новую.
That is, there are some latches here, that is, roughly speaking. I have to unscrew it. It should unscrew and get out, but before that there is still such a thing that is bolted down.
Перед этим там стоит еще вот такая вот штучка, которая прикручена болтиком.
That is, you need to unscrew the bolt, remove this thing, and unscrew it. It's simple. And here's the old motor. Well, it's arranged a little differently.
По-другому устроен.
The fact is that this spare part, it is not original, and this is already an automarket. That is, here is this branch pipe, how would you call it? It's just on the latches here. It unfastens from here, and one latch was broken. Here it clicks and just turns away. It turns out this motor.
Вот щелкивается и просто отворачивается. Получается этот моторчик.
The new motor is already in the middle, it works.
Он работает.
The speed changes, everything is fine, so he turns there.
Вот он там вот крутит.
Well, the place here, of course, is not enough in order to put it there. I had to play a little.
Пришлось поиграться.
The fact is that the guys use this car for work, and if you touch the mat here, it all flies in your face.
И если ты касаешься здесь коврика, оно все это летит тебе в лицо.
In general, it's not very pleasant. Just take it and work in a mask. Replacement motor.